Hey, what's up guys? It's Kale here from How to Rip. It's been a while since I uploaded. I've been super busy doing a bunch of retreats, doing my van conversion series over on my channel and a whole bunch of other stuff. Getting a few tubes as well, which has been great. I wanted to share with you one of the videos that came out of, two videos that came out of my retreats whilst I was back in New South Wales. All these videos normally go up on my Patreon account for all my patrons there to access and learn from. But I wanted to combine these two because we focus on the pop-up. Obviously, one of the most important aspects of surfing, and there are varying factors which can impact it. So I wanted to take this time to analyze it from a couple of different perspectives, a couple of different surfers, and really help you guys learn in a fly-on-the-wall scenario. So anyway, I've put a couple of extra resources in the description below for like pop-up exercises as well, and a couple of other mistakes. So they should help you out too. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'll see you soon.
Okay, let's have a chat about some takeoff stuff. So first thing, boom, rounded back. We really want to avoid that rounded back scenario for any sort of pop-up because what it does, just a lack of stability, and it means there's not going to be a high enough fulcrum for the legs to swing through, your hips being the fulcrum there. So we need a nice lever space for the legs to come through. Now what that does, when the pop-up is hindered and it's sort of, it's done in stages, you're only ready to go on that wave by that point there. At which point, you don't have enough speed, you're not really in that empowered position to move down the line. So we really want to correct that if we can, especially if we want to progress with our on-wave surfing, because the frequency of you actually getting out on the face is going to be hindered and reduced by that sort of hiccup in the pop-up. So a few things going on there. Let's break it down. The main thing I want you look for here is that nice strong arch back. So see that there? See the looking down the line the whole time? And it's only at that point that the legs start to swing through. Now, if we put them side by side, it's quite clear and obvious, isn't it? How much less stability there is over here on the left. So we really want to drive that down. Drive the hips up. Think about creating a curve in your lumbar spine, so there's a nice sort of banana shape in the back, and that way you're going to be able to get into waves a lot easier. Your eye line there, that's the first time you look down the line after popping up. So we want to induce that by looking down the line as you're paddling in, but then just being really conscious of keeping that back nice and strong and arched, because right now it is going to be hindering you quite a lot. So if we think about that in multiple ways. We also talked about holding the prone position for a moment before popping up, and we'll go through that in a second. I'd love to see you sort of move forward with that and progress on your own. So we want to avoid these little situations here. 2 knees on the board, rounded back. If we can, again, just ends up with you popping up and getting to your feet too low, on the wave, that is. So if we sort of break it down side by side, what's the difference there? See that arch in the back and see how your hips are still on the board there? And we talked about, so we really want to try and clean that up a little bit more. If you had to paddle it in on a little bit more of an angle even, and had been looking down the line, and again in the prone position, be holding your hips up a little bit higher, it's going to work. It is going to work, and it'll click. It's just going to take a little bit of practice, a little bit of conscientious surfing. So I think we can achieve that through some different mobility stuff as well. If you look on my YouTube channel, the Kale's Broccoli one, there's a mobility. Actually, it's in the Surfer's Roadmap, the first one, the Surfer's Roadmap, the beginner to advanced one. Beginner to intermediate, and it's got some good stretch routines in there. I have a feeling that it's more just a conscious thing, but it could also be a mobility thing as well. I also just released my latest video on YouTube for you. It's 3 mistakes ruining your pop-up or something like that. Check that out, and that'll also help as well. Let's have a chat, mate. We'll lock down some of this stuff and really work out what's going on. First off, this position here. It tends to happen a lot with you, and it's a very unstable position to take off from. Now, obviously, this can come down to mobility stuff, but I just want to highlight it throughout this clip so that we can try and get you a little bit more empowered in this position here. Notice how the low position over here to the right
a lot stronger, right? A lot more informed because my head is up and I'm able to look down the line. Now, this is due to a multitude of factors. One is mobility. Two is positioning. Where are you taking off? Right in the whitewater, right? There's no space beneath you because the water's flat there. There's no curve for the board to be sent out in front of you so that you can take advantage of that extra space under you. So those are the waves that we're looking for, those spots. But, unfortunately, just too few paddles. Notice how you're moving backwards up the face of the wave there, and that's the number one sign that you haven't paddled enough to catch that ride. So in the end, you just sort of had to miss it. Again, I don't mind this positioning here, maybe a little bit too under the lip. Ideally, you'd be sort of out. I think your positioning overall is quite good though, and I think that, you know, with great paddling, whatnot, see that again, that moving back up the face of the wave that keeps pulling you back. With great paddling combined with that great positioning that you've got, then I think we're going to be sweet. So see, what happened there was you put in that last double stroke. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the double stroke, it did result in you catching the wave and developing and getting a nice planing motion happening, and you were able to take off a lot easier. You know why? Because there was more space. Because as you roll down the wave, the board falls away from you a little bit, and that's where you're able to generate, you know, more space. But we're still sort of good jumping to that as the initial, and I want to try and move towards something like this. And those exercises that I put in that video are going to be really great at doing that, just for mobility and strength. I know we've got some stuff with the knees, so let's try and work it. And obviously they're sort of holding you back from getting a little bit lower. Let's try and get that body sort of a little bit stronger in terms of the torso, the upper torso, and bend the knees a little bit more when you are riding. This is the same stance that I saw you have on the Smooth Star. So it is definitely sort of a habit, and maybe there's a little bit of a lack of body awareness going on there too. Cool. See, again with the paddling, making it really hard on yourself to pop up, stopping really early. That's okay, especially in a late takeoff sort of position, which is where you were. You still managed to sort of wrestle it through, but let's try to commit to those single arm paddles all the way through, and really get you moving in those waves. And again, just bending the knee. Let's get the knees bent a little bit more so that you can really engage your core and lower your center of gravity a little bit more. Cool, there's that position again, just to highlight it. Just looking a little bit tricky, making it hard on yourself. You've got to kind of adjust in a big way after that. Excuse me, to make things work. So again, let's just try and make it easy. Cool, little side by side there. Again, just pretty obvious. Let's try and achieve that. Cool, and just another one, stopping paddling a little bit too soon. See that? And those last paddles were really quite, you know, half-assed. They were sort of just little taps on the water. I can see when you really want to wave, you're pretty good. That moment was great. And you do really commit. I think it's more of a positioning thing. Like this example here, see how you kept those strokes going because you sort of knew you were in a really good position. And that first pop-up, look at that little moment there where the leg actually came through correctly and looked really good. So it could be mostly that your pop-up gets affected heavily by your positioning. If I'm going to compare those two and the same sort of time in the pop-up process, that's looking pretty similar, mate. The only thing I'd want to see is maybe the head looking up a little bit more and then moving into that position there. Unfortunately, your feet landed a little bit too close together, which is, again, probably a little mobility thing. And then you leaned back, you know, quite drastically into the arrow. But because your legs were so close together, it's almost like you're doing a dab. Because your legs were so close together, there was no way you were able to withhold that sort of center of gravity and that balance. But the way you caught that wave, the entry, and the first half of that pop-up was fantastic. So you should be super stoked. Cool. And again, I look at that and I go, well, he's popping up in the white water. That's super hard to do. Cool, buddy. Awesome to have you on the tree. It was a great time. I look forward to seeing you soon, brother. You.